warm welcome to Disky Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things Kaizer Chiefs and Bongani Zungu, as he has been linked to Kaizer Chiefs. So, on today's episode then, we're going to have a look at Bongani Zungu, who currently plies his trade in France in League 2 for Amiens. And this is a player then whose contract comes to an end in June. So he is then able to start communicating with certain teams, and he's also able then to sign a pre-contract. So when you have a look at it then, Bongani Zungu is a quality midfielder, a player then who over the years has developed into a very, very good deep laying midfielder, as we do know that when he did start out at Amatax, he was playing as a second striker. He scored so many goals, and his development has seen him drop further down and become then a midfielder, more or less a defensive midfielder who plays in deep pockets of spaces. And he has been doing very, very, very well over the past couple of years. It's just in the past couple of months, he has struggled a bit. When he did go out on loan to Rangers, things didn't quite work out, and then he returned to Amiens, and they currently find themselves in League 2. But when we have a look then at Bongani Zungu, I think that this would be a great signing for Kaizer Chiefs. And if anything, I think that there's a great possibility that Bongani Zungu could sign for Kaizer Chiefs, not in this window, but in the next window. However, because he is then able to start communicating with teams, it's very important that Kaizer Chiefs act swiftly and they start opening up talks with Bongani Zungu's camp so that they're able to lure the player in and get him on that pre-contract, because I could imagine that this is a player then who will have quite a number of offers, and it's going to be very interesting to see then what he decides to do. However, when you have a look at Bongani Zungu from a tactical standpoint and how he would fit into this Kaizer Chiefs side, well, firstly, this is a man then who has worked with Stuart Baxter at national team level. So when it comes to Stuart Baxter, then he is a coach then who likes players that he can rely on, and he also likes players who are a little more on the experience side. So when you have a look at Bongani Zungu, he would bring that experience to this Kaizer Chiefs side. He would bring that pedigree, and he would bring that star quality as well. Also factor in that he's played with Keegan Dolly at Sundowns. He's played with Kama Biliat at Sundowns as well. So those are three factors which could be on his mind and which could then potentially lure him to Naturena. So when you have a look at Stuart Baxter's team, Stuart Baxter does set up in a 4-3-3. So he does set up in a three-man midfield. And when you do have a look at Kaizer Chiefs, then this is a position that they've really, really struggled in. So Bongani Zungu is a quality footballer, as he can play as an 8, he can also play as a defensive midfielder. But when you have a look at the struggles of Kaizer Chiefs, they've lacked that within the heart of midfield. And I don't see them getting a defensive midfielder this window. So maybe then their attention could turn to a Bongani Zungu and look to get him in June and look to get him on a pre-contract as soon as possible. And this is where then he would slot in for Kaizer Chiefs. I'd like to think that Stuart Baxter could potentially use him as a defensive midfielder, or maybe then use him in a double pivot. But when we have a look at Zungu then, this is a player then who's well adept then at starting play. So he would then be looking to drop deep and pick up that ball in deep pockets of spaces. And that could bode very well then for Kaizer Chiefs then, because he would give them that control within the heart of midfield from a qualitative perspective. He could give them then that ball progression that is needed, and a player then who's able to nurture the ball. Also then, what that could do is that could see Njabulo roadblock no going back to centre back, So this Bongani Zungu potential signing, could bring so many things and so many positives for this Kaizer Chiefs side, and I think it would improve this Kaizer Chiefs side a lot, especially the midfield as well. And when you then have a look at how he operates in deep pockets of spaces, he would get the ball, so he does then have that 50-40 yard pass, where he can spray it and be looking to then get a winger or fullback in the two wide channels, being vertical zone 5 and vertical zone 1. He's also then got those line-breaking passes within the heart of midfield. He's well adept then at finding advanced midfielders in those tight pockets of spaces, in the half spaces, and also then playing those balls and being able to play those balls and progress the ball. When you have a look at it then, you'd normally have a Keegan Dolly who likes to drift into that right-sided half space. So this is a player then who would then be able to get that ball into a Keegan Dolly, and especially then when you consider that at times, from a midfield perspective, Kaizer Chiefs have been struggling a lot, especially when it comes to finding their men in the right pockets of spaces. So then when you have a Bongani Zungu, he'd improve that part a lot. And then also factor in that there's Nkosi Ngobo who does like to collect the ball in those tight pockets of spaces. So if you have him playing as a 10 in this system, and you have him playing maybe from the left-sided half space, then Zungu can also find him. And whenever then he does come into vertical zone 3 looking to collect the ball, he can also find him. So this would bode very well then for those advanced midfielders and for those creative players for Kaizer Chiefs. So I think that this is a signing that there's great chances of him signing for Kaizer Chiefs, not now, but in the next window. However, we do know that as the transfer window progresses and as things within the world of football progress, sometimes it may happen and it may not happen. However, I really do think that this is a player that Kaizer Chiefs will land. And when you have a look at Zungu then, he's matured from a physical standpoint. He's improved that side of his game very well. And also then what I like about him is that this is a player who can be used then in set pieces. So not just in between the two boxes from a qualitative perspective with regards to his passing game, how he reads the game and how he may look to break down the game. But when it comes to set pieces then, because he is a very tall and very strong player, and he does have a few goals that he scored with his head. So that is a part of his game that he has improved over the past couple of years. So you could look to use him then in the offensive box when Kaizer Chiefs do have those set pieces, as that is another thing that Stuart Baxter could look to improve, are the set pieces for Kaizer Chiefs. And then when also defending their own box, Bongani Zungu could also then come in very, very handy. So overall then, I think that this would be a great signing for Kaizer Chiefs. And also then, it would really, really lift the rest of the squad from a qualitative perspective. And this is a player then who plays with that arrogance. He is a star footballer, a quality footballer. And I think then when you have a look at him, he does have a good 3 to 4 years still left in him. So what I do like then, he could then offer Kaizer Chiefs so much going forward. But at home, do let me know then, what do you make of Bongani Zungu potentially returning to South Africa? Do you think it would be a good move? Do you think Kaizer Chiefs would be able to land him? Or do you foresee him then returning to Mamelodi Sundowns? Or do you foresee him staying in Europe? Or maybe attracting a lucrative offer, maybe in Asia or maybe in the UAE? So thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Luyolo. Signing out.